are a chosen generation. Called for to show His excellence.
Well, good afternoon, Turks and Caicos. You are tuned into Tropical Vibes. This is the TCI Patriot Hour right here on Tropical Vibes 105.5. I am your guest host for today. My name is Tamika. Handfield. You may know me from another show, but I am here today just to help out with the TCI Patriot Hour. I am excited to be back in your company. Maybe you are in your homes or your cars or your offices, wherever you may be, on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. It is the 17th day of March. This year is definitely flying by. And so if you have made some resolutions, some New Year's resolutions at the beginning of the year, then you should be getting started with those resolutions already. We have a great show lineup for you today. Just remember, though, the call-in show, the number to call if you have a question. I can assure you, you will be having questions that you may want to ask. The number is 941-8550. That's 941-8550. We are also online. You can find us on www.tropicalvibestci.com. Once more, that's www.tropicalvibestci.com. I'll get it right. Before the hour is over, I will get it down. Also, if you have either an Android or an iPhone, there is an app that you can download. It's Tropical Vibes TCI app that you can download, and you can hear us online via your mobile device. So I think we are in good company today. Now, the way I like to do a show is to hear from you. So please keep that number handy so that we can talk to you via telephone or via text messages. Also, I'm not going to give you my number, though. So if you don't have my number, then you have to call the show on 941-8550. All right. As promised, this is the fourth show, in what was supposed to be a 10-part series, but it's going so well that they are deciding to extend it. And so I'm just going to be here today speaking with Miss Ethlyn Gibbs-Williams. We all know who she is. She is the director of the National Trust. Welcome to TCI Patriot Hour, Ms. Williams. How are you?
Thank you very much, Tamika. I'm doing great. I am so pleased to be here on the show with you today.
Well, we are looking forward to an exciting time. Are you?
Most certainly. I think we're going to have a great time. I'm just waiting to see what callers would come in with the questions.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting, I think.
Exactly. It will be interesting to hear what they have to say, right? So let's just get started. Before we even jump into the meat of the matter, let's just hear a bit about who Ethlyn Gibbs-Williams is. Tell us about yourself.
All right. I'm sure a lot of people know who I am, but for those who may want to know just a little bit more, first of all, I am a Turks and Caicos Islander, and may I add, I am a proud Turks and Caicos Islander.
All right, now.
I started my career as an educator, and then I moved on to more of the science interest that I had. And right now, I would say, as most people would put me in the category as a conservation practitioner, deal mainly with conservation matters, historical, cultural, and the environment. I also like to describe myself as a trailblazer. I don't wait for people to show the way. I kind of go out there and make the way, and others follow. I'm not afraid to do that, and I can stand on my own. In my years that I've been here on the earth, I have discovered that I am a leader, a natural leader, and so I don't shy away from creating things, pathways for people, and I get gratification out of creating something that people benefit from. I believe that's why I chose the path of being a teacher initially, and then working in the National Trust where I'm at the moment, even though it's very challenging, but I do get gratification of looking back and seeing things that I have developed, and people are benefiting from it.
Nice, nice. Well, you know what I've heard listening to you just now, give you your introduction of yourself. The theme song for the TCI Patriot Hour is "I Know Who I Am," and that
Exactly.
song sounds exactly like you. You know, someone who knows who they are, someone who
Got it.
recognize their God-given gifts and talents, and someone who is using those gifts and talents in the best way possible, you know? So I am excited about this show today, and welcome once again to the TCI Patriot Hour.
Thank you again. And
Ready to get started?
Yes, and going on what you just said, you know, it is so important for us to find that special place, because I
yes.
often tell my two boys, I believe God creates everyone for a purpose. We
Everyone.
all have a purpose in life, and it is up to us to find that path and just ask God to guide us in it. And then the other thing is, He creates us in a way so that we bring enjoyment to other people. So our purpose is to help others and help ourselves too.
Yes.
So that's my philosophy. So that's how I live my life, and I believe in biblical principles, and I kind of chart my course,
Based
in
on
life.
those
Yes,
principles.
based on those principles as well.
And you know what? One of the happiest times in your life is when somebody discovers, the reason why they were born.
You're right. You're right.
Oh my God! I mean, it brings you such joy, like you say,
That's
and
right.
such gratification. And I think the same thing applies to countries, and to nations. When you discover your God-given gift
Yes.
in the world, the same thing should apply, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Sure.
So you mentioned before that you are at the National Trust. You are the executive director of the National Trust. How long have you been at the trust?
I've been at the trust for about 18 years now, and it hasn't been a bed of roses. Far from that. But because I discovered my purpose, and I felt like the work at the trust is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
I feel that is the reason why I was able to rise to meet those challenges that came about. And so I'm still going on, and I've enjoyed the 18 years so far. Sometimes I had cause to stop and question myself.
Like, am I in the right place?
Yes.
Like, really?
When it got so difficult.
I know.
But the interesting thing about life and being in your area and being comfortable with who you are is when you begin to doubt yourself. Once you believe in God, God finds a way to send reassurance to say,
Exactly.
listen, you stay right where you are.
You got nowhere to go. Just
You
stay
got
right here. Exactly.
And so I have been down that path too, when I was, I don't think maybe I need to just move on.
Find somewhere else to go.
Yeah, but there's so many things happen to show me like what God was saying. You are where I want you to be. You stay until I tell you
It's
to
time
move,
to move.
on.
Yeah.
So I just said, all right, that's what you want, Lord.
Yes.
I am going to just stay and deal with it,
Yeah.
because I know He never puts on us more than we can
Amen.
bear.
That's right.
And He knows how much we can handle, because He's our creator.
Exactly.
And so that is what I found out. In 2009, I can share with you and the listening audience that 2009 was a very, very difficult year for me and the National Trust. It was the recession, and I mean, just like the whole bowl turned upside down. And that is when I found myself questioning, should
Yeah.
I remain here? Should I just do like others and say, nothing is happening, let's close up shop and move on? But I recall, Tamika, actually sitting in my house on a couple occasions with those thoughts going through my mind, and I would get a phone call from certain people and saying,
Wow.
like, Ethlyn, my mind was on you. I just calling to encourage you, because
Yes.
I guess they sense that
Out of
they could
nowhere,
see- That's
right?
right, out of nowhere. We have any prior discussion on this thing, and yet still persons call to say, look, you have a role to play. Sorry, you have a role to play. You need to stay where you are and just be encouraged.
Right.
And so I said, wow, this must be God, because I wasn't even thinking on that side or on these persons. I had no prior discussion with them. And so sometimes, God works in mysterious ways, and we cannot understand, but eventually,
when you get through it, you look back, you be like, and then you understand. Oh,
exactly.
That's what that was about.
Yes,
Yeah.
sure enough.
So let's talk a bit about the mandates of the trust. What are some of the mandates, some of the objectives, that you guys hold dear to you and would like to accomplish at the trust?
Yes, the National Trust has a very broad mandate. And I sometimes wonder why it was designed in that way, but everything has a reason, everything has a purpose. The mandate stretches over to encompass the protection, preservation of the natural, historical, and the cultural heritage
That's a lot.
of the Turks and Caicos Islands. Exactly. It's a mouthful, it's a whole lot. And then going into realizing the mandate is another whole
Right.
kettle of fish, because it's so wide. You have to think on where to start and how to keep on course, because you can get off track easily if you're not focused, if you don't have a vision.
Right.
So it's so important to have the vision. And once we realize that, okay, this is the responsibilities entrusted on this organization from the government, we just set about identifying projects and programs and interacting with people, because the mandate of the trust, as it says, to protect the heritage. And who are you protecting it for?
Right.
It's for the people,
Exactly.
present and future generations. And so it made sense to go to the people and the various communities
To find out. Right.
from them, what do you see in your community, how the National Trust can benefit you through the mandate it has been entrusted with.
Right. So, to me, that ties in very nicely with the whole theme of the TCI Patriot Hour, which is national development. And so hence the reason why you're here today. You're here to talk about national development through protecting and preserving our heritage.
Exactly.
Now, how do you see these two tying in or complementing each other?
Very nicely to get started with that, the answering that question, very nicely indeed, because we're talking about national development.
Right.
And here, this organization, the National Trust, has this mandate. I understand national development being a guide that a government uses to better the lives of the citizens or the people
Right.
of the country.
Right.
Right. So I see that, and not only the National Trust, but all other entities should play into that process,
Right.
if you will, of national development.
Right.
And there needs to be a national development plan. So I believe that the country has a national development plan, and so the work of the trust plays into this national development plan, or it should anyway. You can't develop a country without developing its people.
Correct.
Or else you're going to get into trouble. And you're going to have a lot of controversies. You're going to have a lot of unhappy people, unhappy citizens, and people will feel like they're not getting their share, what they, and furthermore, we have elected government. So persons will begin to feel like the elected leaders are not representing them very well.
Correct.
So with the national development in terms of protecting, preserving, and promoting the heritage, we will have to go down the path as we did with first identifying ways to get this the mandate explored and to a level that people can see tangible stuff being done and can appreciate. Identifying sites, we did that, so that is one way of tying it into national development, and then creating jobs even through those programs that have been developed around the sites in a sustainable manner.
Right.
National development also involves proper education, finding ways so that the citizens can be well educated, from primary level straight up to advanced level.
Correct.
And in the work of the trust, this is possible, and this is what we are doing, even though it may be on a small scale. And that is why I appreciate coming here today, because this is one way of promoting what the trust is doing and the vision that the trust has through its mandate.
Now, when we talk about national development, do you think that national development also encompasses trying to instill a sense of pride in our culture and in our heritage?
Most definitely. And to do that, again, I think we have to develop programs. This is where the educational side of it, comes into.
And it's very important.
Yes, to be because if you don't know your culture, you don't know your heritage, then it will be difficult for you to exhibit appreciation and the pride.
Right.
So in the National Development Plan, going back to what I said earlier as different entities coming together and the National Trust, we should focus on the programs to bring this to the top so that people will participate. And in fact, the programs should be designed so that they are participatory. So people will get involved, even from the youngest citizens, the students, kindergartens even. There are ways that you can design programs to teach the citizens about what we have so that they can develop that national pride. Yes, that pride and appreciation for what we have.
Right.
And I think from looking at the whole picture, we have been lacking in a way to drive forward with that development of programs for to encourage national pride and appreciation for what we have.
Right.
I don't think that focus has been placed on finding out what we have, finding out who we are, and then forging forward, everybody, because there's it has to be unity. The National Trust cannot do it alone with its mandate. As we said earlier, it is a very broad mandate, but the National Trust needs support from government and the community. Yes, everybody. And so that is why it sometimes feels like it's such a challenge, it's such a difficult task to get this done, what has to be done.
Yeah. Well, I think this is super important, and I totally agree with you in terms of us as a country, as a people, not putting enough effort into instilling that pride into our people, right? I always speak about, my son's school, where for history, they learn absolutely nothing about the TCI. Right? So you have children. It just so happened that he's lucky that he has TCI parents, right? But you have children who can grow up in this country from birth, maybe even born here, and not know anything about TCI. something is wrong with that. I see something inherently wrong with that, and I think it needs to be mandated from the top, from the Ministry of Education, the Education Department, that every school in TCI teach something about our heritage in the schools. How do you feel about that?
I feel the same way. Honestly, it needs to start with our leaders, honestly, because they're the ones who set policies.
Yes.
And they are the ones who sit in LegCo,
Yeah.
and prepare the legislation.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter really how much we talk about it if it doesn't go straight up to the top, and those persons who are responsible for setting policies and legislation, if they don't share the same vision,
Yes.
that this has to be done,
Yes.
then nothing will change.
Yes.
We can go on for decades doing just talking about it and doing our little part in our own
Yes.
little area, but it has to fuse together. Everybody, as you said earlier, everybody have to come together and see the need.
Right.
Why is it like this?
Right.
It is our fault, honestly. So we have to as citizens, we have to continue to raise these things as issues and things that need to be corrected.
Right.
I mean, we are at an ideal time right now to take an assessment of what's happening in our country with heritage preservation and promotion. All right? Have we ever done it? Have we ever actually sat back as a country and look at the things from the national point of view?
Right.
And assess where we are
Right.
and where we need to go. I think this is an ideal time to do it.
As better time as any.
You see?
There was an article that you did that I read last night, and in the article you mentioned how we as a country we've done some things right, but we've done a whole lot wrong as well, and even though we've done a whole lot wrong, we still have that time or the opportunity to try to make it right.
Exactly.
But we still seem to be off course. Why do you think this is?
I think it's because we have not come to terms with who we are, and perhaps we do not know who we are as yet. We really
Well, when
need.
are we gonna know?
That's
I'm just wondering.
I think this is, as I said, I think this is a good time to really stop. And the older people in the community used to say, take stock.
Yes.
Take stock
Of where you are.
Yes, of where you are right now. Where are we going?
Yes.
Where are we going? Look at the situation we have. We now have a whole influx of other cultures and things.
Yes.
And if we are not careful, we are going to be lost, completely lost. And as you mentioned earlier, the future generation won't know anything about the heritage of Turks and Caicos. So we've got to really stop and take an evaluation and then decide on where we need to go. Because, looking at where we came from, we have a strong cultural background. We do, even though some people may think that, no, we don't, but we do. If you were to stop and really study and think about it, the fact that we are here, who are we? Who are our ancestors?
Right.
Who are they?
Right.
Remember, and I sometimes happen to be at Cheshire Hall Plantation when visitors come to look at the plantation.
Tour the plantation.
And it gives me an opportunity to understand where they're coming from,
Right.
and what we have to offer, and how little we are promoting it.
Yes.
These people come here and they want to know more about
Wow.
our culture
Yes.
and our history. And here we are not even flaunting it enough.
No,
We
we're too
have to.
busy.
And we have such uniqueness that Tamika, we have so much that we can compete strongly
Yes.
with other Caribbean neighbors
Yes.
even.
Yes.
And
But we
countries
don't
in-
do
but we don't.
We're too busy, and this is just my opinion on this, right? But we're too busy trying to be like everybody else.
That's right. I
You know?
agree with you.
We're not trying to see who we are and be who we are.
Exactly.
Right? We're trying to push who we are or who we were in the background. Listen, I don't want, talk about, using the outside toilet. I don't want to talk about, cooking on
the wood.
coal stove or whatever. Right? No. So we don't want to talk about these things. We don't want to, even remember these things. But we're so busy trying to be the Jamaicans, trying to be the Haitians, trying to be the Americans, trying to be the Bahamians. That you talking about we going to be lost?
We already, almost. But I still believe that we have hope. And I go back to what I said earlier. Now is an ideal time. And sometimes I often remind people when I had a situation even with, like the auditors came, internal auditors, and they made a statement that, the trust has been around for for 20-something years, and they were sort of pointing out certain things that we have not accomplished yet. But everything takes time. And as a people, we should also remember that it took 40 years, a whole generation, before we got that Emancipation Act.
Yes.
Right? And our ancestors were freed. And we must remember whose shoulders we stand on. Strong people, resilient people, tenacious people. That's the strength of the Turks and Caicos people.
Yes.
But we tend to forget that.
Yes.
Nothing happens overnight. Things take time. But if you have vision, you will stay the course. And sometimes I feel like there's a lack of vision in leadership here. Why we seem to be off course or go off track so often and not kind of find our way. But we are special people. We have a lot that we can be proud of.
And offer to the wider world.
Exactly.
Now, I don't want others to think, those persons who may be from other Caribbean countries, whether you're listening in via radio or via the web, I don't want you to think that we are anti-foreigners or anti-visitors. That is absolutely not what we are about today.
That's right.
But we are talking about loving us as a people, loving TCI, loving everything TCI, loving our heritage, loving our culture, loving where we came from,
That's right.
and talking about how we can preserve that, how we can protect that, so that my son can pass it on to his children. So that your children can pass it on to their children.
Sure.
And this is how you instill pride. This is how you build national pride.
Exactly.
By passing it on.
Exactly.
Passing it on. And if my son grows up and his child doesn't know anything about our heritage, then that means that I, as a parent, have failed him.
Yes.
I have failed him in terms of failing to pass on my heritage to him, And so now I have a question for you, Ethlyn. Do you think we can welcome visitors from other Caribbean countries, from other parts of the world, and still protect and preserve our heritage?
Most definitely, definitely. Because do you know the people who come from the other Caribbean countries and Canada and other places, they talk to us about their heritage. And they share their experience.
And they're proud of it.
Exactly. So we should be the same. They are coming here for a reason. They're coming here because they're looking for something to improve themselves, improve their livelihood, whatever the situation. But they don't suppress their culture. They don't suppress their historical heritage.
Yep.
So why should we?
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, we can live together. We can embrace their culture and their heritage too. But we should not and we must not
do it.
Suppress ours.
Yes.
Ours must always rise to the top.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, this country is the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Correct.
When visitors come here, they should see the dominant culture being Turks and Caicos, not the Jamaican, not the Canadian, nothing else, but Turks and Caicos, and that is what we are saying, and that is what national development is all about.
Right. Because
preservation of the heritage is part of national development.
Right.
You see?
I think too many times we consider development in TCI as just buildings.
Yeah, infrastructure.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you're putting up a new hotel here. We're putting up something new over there. You know, but are we really spending time investing in our people? You know, are we really developing their mentalities? You know, their mindsets? And so sometimes
No.
that leaves a little bit, you know, wanting
Yes.
more. You know,
I think that is where what I see as the weaknesses in our development process,
right?
because having the social structure, having the physical infrastructure, that's fine. But if you leave the people behind,
Yes.
you know, that's no good.
Mm-hmm.
Because you are developing these things, remember, through your quote unquote development plan to improve the lives of the people,
Right.
of your
Right.
people. So in doing that, you have to develop your people along. You know, you have to help your people along. And instilling national pride and that strong sense of identity is part of the development process.
You know,
You must develop your people.
Yes, yes.
Your people. I think every country should want a very informed, you know, population.
Yeah,
An educated people, and that's what, you know, it should be part of the whole process, the development process.
You know, I'm listening to you speak, and in my head, I'm just thinking, yes, we need them to bring us along with them, I guess, with the development process, right? We need us as a people, I'm saying us because we're all involved in this, right?
Right,
To
right.
be proud of our country, to be proud of our heritage, right? But how do you see that happening? Like, what are some things we need to do then as a country to ensure that happens?
Well, first of all, going back to what you said in the schools, we have to make sure that, for example, the social studies curriculum or the history curriculum has things in it about Turks and Caicos,
Right, right.
and straight across the board, from kindergarten straight up to
Yes.
the community college that we
Yes.
have now,
Yes.
and one day we will have our own university
Yes.
and so forth as well. So that has to take place. The other thing I feel that we need to change is, I don't feel like the process of national development is participatory enough.
Meaning?
Meaning we need to have more consultation with communities, the people. We need to
Hear from the people.
We need to hear from the
Right.
people. We need to hear more from the people. And sometimes I feel like even with development of legislation and changes in legislation, the people are not involved enough. Because we are sometimes lost. You only hear of something that was passed in the House after the fact. You know, I don't think it should be that way. And I'm just speaking from a Turks and Caicos Islander point of view.
Yes, yes.
And I think we really need to have more civil society organizations. You know, we need, like TCI Patriots. This is just one group. We need to have more groups that can debate topical issues.
Yes.
You see?
Without getting upset.
Exactly.
Without letting
Come
our
on.
political affiliations
Thank you.
influence anything.
First of all, we need to forget about politics and remember that we are one people.
That's right.
You see?
That's right.
That's where we got to start from. Forget about politics, because at the end of the day, it's us.
Yes.
We all have to live in this wonderful, beautiful country. But if we are not careful, we are not going to have a beautiful country.
Right.
Because beautiful means more than just a physical beauty.
Exactly.
You know, we have the natural beauty, but it goes beyond that. All right?
Now, we've been talking a lot about culture and heritage, and we've been, I think, almost using the terms interchangeably. Is culture the same thing as heritage, or are they different?
They are different, because culture is it's fluid. Culture changes, like it's changing in the Turks and Caicos because of the influx of other
Right.
cultures, etc.,
Right.
etc. But cultural heritage, and which is part of the National Trust mandate, is the way we used to do things. Like remembering that is what needs to be preserved. Going back to our ancestors, how did we live, back in time? And as a matter of fact, we need to see how our cultural heritage ties into our economy, and it does, because tourism is the engine for our economy, right? What do people come here for? Because of our cultural heritage. Even it also includes the natural
Yes.
heritage, and that even is changing,
Yes.
right? And we have to be very, very careful about how we go about developing the country,
Yes.
because destroying the natural heritage, it is not economic sense, really. because-
Economically wise.
Yes, honestly, because at the end of the day, you are destroying the very thing that brings you, money.
Basically.
And so, as I said, like my experience in interacting with visitors at certain heritage sites, it tells me what these people really want to come,
Yes.
what they come for.
Yes.
And we have developed our programs in the trust that we can look back and compare what it was when we started
Right.
and where we are now. The
Right.
fact that the visitation grows each year, it tells me, wow, these people really want to know about the cultural heritage of Turks and Caicos.
Yes.
And if the visitors want to know, why shouldn't we?
Exactly.
And why shouldn't we make it mandatory that our children are taught about the cultural heritage in the schools?
Right. Right.
That is the thing that is key. That is the thing that we need to ensure that everyone understands. So yes, it is different, but we need to focus and keep that preservation and protection on the cultural heritage.
Yeah, yeah. I like that because we tend to confuse the two, or we tend to think that they're the same thing, and they're not really the same thing, but they're closely related.
Yes.
As you said, culture is more fluid.
Yes.
How
It changes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it changes.
Our culture now as a country is constantly changing.
Yes.
When I was growing up, we didn't have so much of the hip hop American influence. Now we do.
Yes.
Now we do. So things are changing,
Yes.
right? But it doesn't mean that our heritage
Exactly.
will always remain the same.
Right.
And
And our identity.
yes.
Because those are the key things that we need to remember, so that we don't get lost in the midst
In
of
the
all
mix.
of this change.
Right. You're so
and,
right.
And some people think when we talk about cultural heritage, and we must remember it, some people think that we are saying to go back to what we used to.
Right,
No, that is
right.
not. You don't want to go back to having to go outside and
Use the bathroom and all
use
these
the
things, yeah.
bathroom and cooking, go gather wood and stuff, and going to the well with the bucket and so forth. No, we're not going back to
Right.
that. But we must remember where we came from. We must remember, because we were not lazy, or else we wouldn't be here today. It is because that we had hope and fortitude, and we fought through that, is why we're here today with a developing country. But we must not forget our heritage.
Yeah. So now we have some different sets of people, right? We have people, we have a group of persons who don't want to remember anything about the olden days, as we call it, right? The olden days. Then we have a set of people who may be older, right? And they remember the way things used to be. They remember the work they had to do, all of the hard work they had to go through, to provide for their families or whatever, right? And so they somehow resent where we are today. How do you speak to those people who may resent where we are today?
I think they should look at it as, okay, we are the descendants of those very people who are kind of resenting it, because they're saying, oh, you have life too easy.
Yes.
But they must remember the hard work that they did is the principles. So we still work hard, because we have to. And back then they didn't have to go to an office. They didn't have to
Yeah.
develop
They did more
programs.
physical.
Yeah, it was more.
Yeah.
But the principles that were laid out, that is what have moved forward with us,
Yes.
the newer
Yes.
generation who
Yes.
they claim like enjoying these things.
Yeah, yeah. Touch button world, my granddaddy called it.
You know.
You never touch button world.
But I think the problem also is that we have not showed those people how appreciative we are of them
I
and
think
what
you're
they
correct.
did. And we must find ways to involve them, to go back to them and talk with them and bring them in the picture now
think you are
of
correct.
our developing country.
And I think all of this, sorry I cut you across, but I think all of this can be involved or a part of this national development plan that this country needs.
Exactly. You're
know,
right on the button there.
As a way
definitely.
to preserve, as a way to, get the information, to extract the information from these people. Because they're going to die.
Exactly.
Right?
Mhm.
And we don't want them to go to the grave with all that information in them, right? Like there was a hobby, I guess that I guess it was back then of what's it called? Like the platen weaving. Thank you.
mhm.
Weaving baskets, right?
Mhm.
That's an almost unheard of thing now. I don't know how to do it.
Mhm.
So I can't teach my son, right? So
Yes.
we need to find a way to extract the information from these people so that we can have that gap, bridge the gap
Yes.
somewhere,
Yes.
right? Between them, us, and our
The
children,
next generation, yes.
right? There has to be that gap somehow, and I'm sorry, that bridge, and I think all of that needs to be a part of this national development plan.
Exactly. You are so right, and that is why I said a national development plan. It brings people together.
Yes.
It's unity. So one group can't go off and do it and then give it to the rest. No, we must do it together. We must move up together in unity. And bridging the gap, going back to what you mentioned about this straw weaving, that is what the National Trust is trying to do.
Yeah.
You see? Now, with the persons who had to do it back then because that was a way.
Their livelihood.
Exactly.
Almost.
That's what they depended on. They couldn't go into the name brand stores and
Right.
purchase a bag to carry stuff in. They had to make the baskets. They had to make the bowls. And so they may have resented it then because it was hard work.
Right.
It was physically taxing on the limbs, the fingers. But now, what do we do as the National Trust? We embrace those skills. We encourage those skills. And we turn the skills into souvenirs.
Right.
So the very
yes.
visitors, again, tying it in with tourism, they come, they like the baskets,
Yes.
but the baskets are the results of the skills that were passed
Right.
on from our
Right.
foreparents. So we take those same skills, develop modern day souvenirs, and money goes into the economy. Money goes in someone's pocket to
Yes.
feed,
Their
his or her children
or
and
grandchildren
yes,
even.
and
Yes.
put aside for scholarship and college money and all of that.
Yes.
So people have to see this, and I think the National Development Plan would bring, people being involved with it
Yeah.
would show the different generations how it comes together. You pass on from the older ones to the younger ones, and they can see that we're using those same skills
Right.
that they
Right.
were taught back then to fuel the economy,
Right. Right. I mean, this is so funny because, just last night, my father, who was really my grandfather, but I grew up with my grandparents, so he's my father. He was telling my son, he just was talking to him and saying, Granddaddy don't want you to have to work hard like I did, because, they work really hard,
Yes,
physically,
physically, yes.
physically
Yes.
hard work, going in the boat all day and all this stuff just to try and find some food for you, and so, but we have to find that way to, like you said before, appreciate them and to make them feel appreciated that, yes, we may not work as hard, as physically hard as you did, but we still appreciate, what you did for us and what you passed down to us,
Exactly.
Yes.
Now the other thing is going in a boat, and those people back then had to spend days on a deserted
Yes,
key
yes.
to get the conch and the process back then. You get the conch, you clean it, you knock it, take it out of the shell, you clean it, you hang it out to dry. Then you had to go with the trading back then to Haiti.
Yeah.
Now the process, we don't have to go and catch conch that way now.
Right.
But that process is our cultural heritage. It is so important. You incorporating those skills into today's programs is what we need to do. I feel, as a Turks and Caicos Islander, young men and even women still today should know how to row the boat. They call it sculling.
Sculling, yes.
Back then. I was talking to Pastor Gold Williams couple Sundays back about this whole thing. We need to bring that back.
Yes.
And visitors would be happy
You know how
to
much
watch.
money you can make like this?
I'm telling you.
Wait, hold on.
It encourages people to go back into boat building, which is part of our heritage. Making the small boats, I think they call them canoes or dinghies, right?
Dinghies, yeah.
And then I remember, because I didn't do it, but I would watch when I would go down to the creek, Laramus Creek. We would see, I guess I always was this individual who was interested and curious. And that sort of thing. So I noticed on the back of the boat, or the stern, had this Y-shaped wood.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, as a child, I just look at that. Okay, that's a Y-shaped wood. But that wood was shaped specifically to keep the oar in place. It was a long
rod like
thing they used with a little paddle on the back of it. And I would watch the men and boys do that thing, and it propelled them forward or wherever they wanted to go.
Yes.
It was interesting.
Yes.
But bringing that back now, we can have sort of competition with people who could scull, and have groups, have like a regatta, so persons can see how this thing was done back then.
Right.
That's preserving our cultural heritage.
Yes.
You see,
And you know
all
what?
those
I mean, I remember last summer we went on a Caribbean cruise. And we go to these Caribbean countries, and they are proud to present their culture to you, to
That's
put
right.
their heritage, not really their culture, but their heritage on display to you. Of course, they may not live that way now,
That's right,
because
yeah.
they will tell
It's
you if you
heritage.
ask them, right? But they are so proud to put their heritage on display to you. I remember when we went to the DR as well as part of our stopover.
Okay.
And as the boat came around the corner and they could see us, they started playing their merengue and salsa and so forth, right? And when you came off of the boat, somebody grabbed you. Whether you were a girl, a man grabbed you. If you were a boy,
Yes.
a girl grabbed you, right? And they start dancing with you and stuff, And, well, that stood out in my mind a bit, because the day before, we stepped over in, guess where? Grand Turk.
Really?
And so I was so proud to say, I am from this country that we're going to, today and all this stuff. And, I saw so many loopholes
Yes.
on that trip. I saw so many ways that we lack
Yes.
in
I believe you.
showcasing our heritage.
That's right.
I mean, I saw so many ways that we lacked in showing off our people. There was no music. There was no food. There was nothing TCI. Of course, you had the normal T-shirts and the normal, souvenirs like that, right? But there was nothing, in my opinion, authentically TCI.
That's it.
I think at
Authentic.
that port, we need to have some buds and rice. Some
Now you're
some milk
talking.
soup.
Some
Some coca lump somewhere. Some brasilita somewhere. I mean,
cornflower pap,
Man,
or porridge.
something. But I remember leaving that port that day so depressed. Not depressed that we didn't have a beautiful country to showcase, because we do.
Yes.
And
but
I mean, people enjoyed it, but I just felt so, oh my gosh, we just missed a perfect opportunity
You see?
to sell TCI to 3,000 plus people.
and look how many jobs we could create by doing that.
So I don't know when we're going to get it together.
Well, we have to. This is the time. I think this is the time. If we don't get it together now, Tamika,
We're going to lose it.
I think so.
But you know what?
we
I was
gotta get it
reminded
together.
that we have 10 minutes left.
Oh, really?
So we have to go quickly. I have so many more questions I want to ask you. But I don't know if they're going to let us extend the show. So maybe let's just hurry up and try to finish the show before they put us outside.
I mean, it's so sweet. That's why we
Interesting.
second
Yes,
time.
yes.
Yeah.
So now, question to you, right? Do you, based on all that we've talked about today, right? Based on the mandate of the trust and what you guys have been trying to accomplish, do you think the government is serious about national development through the preservation of our heritage?
Now, Tamika, I am an honest person. I am always honest.
That's why I asked you the question. So please, let's
I
have
don't
it.
sugarcoat anything.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Not at all.
Now, the trust has been around for almost 25 years.
Wow.
Right?
And you've been there 18 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, honestly, it has been a struggle, and I feel, yes, whilst we are getting some support from the government, there's much more that can be done.
Yes.
I think we should be, as I said earlier, we should be forging forward together. Sometimes I feel like there's such a big division between the vision of the trust and in terms of heritage preservation and that of the government.
Wow.
We have had some unpleasant experiences
Wow.
when we have tried as an organization to move forward to get more support from government, even in terms of securing properties, national properties. It was so disappointing.
Wow.
And I had a very bad experience 2 years ago when we were implementing the co-funded European Union project. We actually asked the government for a long-term lease on the property at Cheshire Hall. The government and the National Trust was under the Premier's ministry at the time. Portfolio. And we were handed a 25-year lease proposal with all sorts of stringent clauses in it that we could never meet. We had no control. We do not have control over natural disasters, for example.
Right.
And yet still they wanted us to move forward and say we're going to have this within a specific time. So I feel in situations like that, the government is not showing that they really are serious about heritage preservation.
Correct.
You
So they
know?
almost were making it impossible
Exactly.
for you to even accept
That's right.
that.
It would
lease.
it would have been complete failure, for us to say yes, we'll accept that. So we
Wow.
didn't. We still asked for a 99-year lease. They just gave other people 99-year lease.
So why not
That,
the trust?
we are national. They
Right.
they give people who are not national
Right.
99-year lease on property. And as far as I'm concerned, the whole Turks and Caicos belong to Turks and Caicos Islanders.
And I'm glad you brought that up because you know what? There was some years ago. I remember when I was a part of the National Trust years ago.
Yes, when you
Many
started out with
laws were put in place to protect various parts of our country and so forth. Now, those same laws were being revisited just recently, and they were trying to take stuff away now, like take out pieces of land that was put into protection, right? So now, why would you do that? If years ago you saw that as being important, you saw the wetlands as being important, you saw this area as being important. Why is it now that all of a sudden those areas are important anymore, and you're now removing pieces of land from protection? That doesn't make sense.
We have a big problem in Turks and Caicos. Number one is identity. And yes, they did some areas they have identified to be included in the protected areas, and some they wanted to take out. But I think as a people, we have to really look at what is being proposed to take out of the protected area system. And I will say this before we leave. As a high school student, I remember I came across that quote by a president, JFK of the U.S., who said, "Ask not what your country can do for you,
But
what you can do for your country."
yes.
If our leaders and everyone would remember that, I think we will really, get it right and put.
Good afternoon, caller. You are on the air.
Yeah, afternoon, Madam Host, and to Ms. Gibbs. Pleasant good evening to you, Mom. You know, I know you had been there with the trust for quite a while, and I know you know what. And I know you don't have the full power that you should have, and I wish you have it, because you'll mean good for our country. Because you are a fighter, and you always have fought for our land, our country, and our heritage. But one question maybe I don't understand too clear is that I heard that, because I'm from South Caicos, and I don't know if it is true with the graveyard. I don't know if National Trust, if that is involved in your script. I don't know if you all is involved in that, but, you know, I heard that the graveyard is probably sold or something like that. I didn't get the full understanding. But do you all have anything to do with that, ma'am, please? This family man. God bless.
Thank you so much, caller. Have a great day. So basically, in essence, he wants to know if the trust has any jurisdiction. Let's try this again. Jurisdiction over the graveyard in South Caicos.
Well, thanks for that question, but unfortunately the trust doesn't, because I can tell you any property the trust has jurisdiction over, we will we protect that,
yes,
by all means. Now, the cemeteries, especially cemeteries that have been around for a long time, those should be labeled as historic sites.
Yes, yes.
And I did raise this back in 2010. Remember when we had that interim government and we were members, some of us were members of the consultative forum. I did, highlight that as a matter, a national, topic that we should look into and protect these the cemeteries, the historic cemeteries, and really maintain them. Make sure that we have a program that they can be maintained and stop being overgrown and so forth.
Yes.
But it is unfortunate if that is the case. I'm not sure about the situation on South Caicos, but I think that is something for the South Caicos people to really raise with their
and speak out on.
Yeah, their representatives and members of Parliament.
Yes,
really.
yes. Let your voices be heard. Let your voices be heard, whether it's on this issue in South Caicos or whether it's on protecting your heritage, protecting, who we are as a people, who we were as a people, or putting our heritage on showcase, Mrs. Ethlyn Williams, it has been an absolute pleasure sitting and speaking with you. Time does really go fast when you are having fun.
Sure
and
does.
I had loads of fun. Did you have fun today?
I certainly did.
Good,
It
good,
was a
good,
pleasure.
good.
It was a pleasure.
It has been loads of fun being here today. My producer needs to leave me alone. I come in. I can tell them next week. Next week we will be having our talk, National Development through Sports, with TCIFA President Ms. Sunya Bienemy. That's next week. My producer telling me I can go on some more.
Really? We have extended time?
I can go on some more. So I riled my producer and he giving me more time to go on. We have another caller? I'm not sure we have a caller or not. Yeah, we do have a caller. Hi, go on, call you on the air.
Good afternoon to your co-host and to Ms. Ethlyn, who is on the panel. Ms. Ethlyn, I worked with you for quite some time with the trust. I see your movement that you try to bring the Turks and Caicos National Trust to a higher standard and to a higher level. I see you try to promote it as highly as you can. I know that you're a struggling, hard-working woman, and you are dedicated toward promoting the Turks and Caicos Islands National Trust and seeing the heritage of the Turks and Caicos Islands be expanded to a level where all indigenous Turks and Caicos Islanders will feel proud with their heritage. But it's sad to hear people like you and all the people who normally sit on radio talk shows to continuously stand the lack of transparency with the current government, which enforces the ruling government, the dawn of the new day government today. I thought that there would have been more transparent from the government to private institutions and statutory bodies and non-profit organizations that will help to embatter the Turks and Caicos and also help to promote the Turks and Caicos and open up the marketing of the Turks and Caicos Islands on a larger scale. It's sad to hear that the government of today has closed their ears and put everything on deaf ears doors. And the reason why I said it like that, because for people who don't know me and just see me walking up and down, they think it's just that I'm just going places idle. I try to fight every day to get things done for me and get things done for the country also, and it be left on deaf ears. So I'd like to take this time out, Tamika, and tell the people, when a country that is fed like this, Tamika, the only thing can happen right now for us is Ethlyn. And it's saddening for me to say this as a young man, but there has to be a shift within the political parties. And unless the citizens of the Turks and Caicos Islands can open up their eyes like I open up mine and see that there's a time for a shift in the Turks and Caicos Islands. The Lord is trying to show us, shift the atmosphere, and we will all enjoy prosperity together. That then, however, I wish you my endeavor best going forward. If there's anything I can assist you with, any voluntary work, anything that I can do to lay my hands to embatter the trust, I'll be greatly appreciated. You know where I live, just come look to me and I'll be helpful to reach my hand to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, caller, for that. I am sure that Miss Gibbs-Williams would welcome any and all support that you can get, right? At the trust. Now, so we were given 30 minutes more, but we have to take a quick commercial break, guys. We got to pay some bills and, do whatever we got to do. Drink some water. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back after this short commercial break. Don't touch that.